And thank you so much. And thank you so much, Jatika, Liz. It's such a great pleasure to be on this panel with you. I'm Odette Alcazaran-Keeley, Director of the Maynard 200 Journalism Fellowship of the Robert C. Maynard Institute for Journalism Education. I'm also the president and founding partner of my own strategic multicultural diversity communications firm, that's Global Media X, headquartered here in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I'm calling you from. I'm a broadcast journalist with now a focus on media advocacy. Prior to joining the Maynard Institute, I was the National Media Network Director for New America Media. It was considered like an AP of ethnic media, an aggregator of news across diverse media outlets. And I was also an anchor and executive producer for our shows on Comcast Cable, KQED, and KLW Public Radio. And last to mention, where I truly came from just before migrating to the United States, I was an executive producer and co-anchor, well, actually, mentioning that I was an executive producer and co-anchor for ABS-CBN International, the Filipino channel TV, also headquartered here in the Bay Area. And before I migrated, I was with the mothership. I was a news reporter, head writer, and producer for ABS-CBN Channel 2, one of the Philippines' biggest television networks. So just a great joy to be here with all of you today.
Thanks, Odette. Can everybody hear? Everybody, okay. Okay, great. Jatika?
Hello, everyone. I am a local girl. I am right here in Mableton, Georgia. Sorry I couldn't be there with you today, but I am sending all my love and thanks to everyone to participating in this event. And I am a freelance journalist. I have been for years. I am also the secretary, the new secretary of SPJ Georgia, as well as the chair of the Freelance Committee. So I am welcoming everyone and thanking everyone. I've been a journalist for 23 years. I am a 2020 fellow of the Gerontological Society Journalists of Aging, which Liz is here representing. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really excited about sharing my experience with you guys. So thank you and welcome.
I guess that leaves me. So hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be joining you today. My name is Liz Siegert. I am co-director of the Journalists in Aging Fellowship Program with the Gerontological Society of America and the Journalist Network on Generations. I'm a freelance health journalist. I've been covering healthcare for 25 plus years and covering aging specifically for about a decade. I'm also what's known as a core topic leader for the Association of Healthcare Journalists, where I gather resources and story ideas and help other journalists learn about this topic. And I freelance for all kinds of consumer and professional publications, from Time Magazine to the American Journal of Nursing. And one of the things I love about covering aging is that there's always something to talk about. So we'll get into that a little bit more later, but thanks for having me.
Thanks, you guys. So first, I want to start out asking you about your fellowship programs. Odette and Liz, if you can start with that and tell us what stands out and the benefits that your fellows receive.
Did you want me to start?
Go
Nicole?
ahead, sure.
Liz, well, first of all, again, just a great joy to be with all of you today, meeting the dynamic network of the SPJ Georgia chapter and all other chapters beyond. I'm hearing there's going to be great vibe and a great mixer happening. So in that spirit, I've worn my party sleeves and really missing Atlanta. The last time I was there was like the before times of the before times. So we had a National Ethnic Media Awards Gala. In fact, it's such a beautiful city. So I hope to be back. So really, really thankful to be here for this opportunity to share our missions at Maynard 200. And we consider it even more pivotal, especially in this climate of mis and disinformation, distrust in media, in our democracy that remains fragile. I'm energized and I'm able to connect, really excited with all of you because we're actually preparing to officially open our application portal to recruit the 2023 cohort next week. That's February 1st, Wednesday. I'll kind of flash a quick image later to make sure we let you know what those deadlines and my contact information for that. So I'm hoping that many of you here today, including Ms. Jatika, might get a fire in your belly, get interested and learn more and hear more about what we are as the Maynard 200 Fellowship. As I join you from the San Francisco Bay Area, I also salute the tireless and courageous work of journalists here in California in covering 3 senseless shootings in just the last 7 days that have wounded our communities and our entire state. These storytellers represent general market, ethnic media, and community-rooted media outlets, and we are proud that several of them are part of our Maynard 200 cohorts. I'm mentioning this also because it definitely ties into one of our unique learning tracks, and that is investigative storytelling. We have 4. And also the Maynard 200 Fellowship curriculum and our work at the Institute has been bolstered by SPJ's allyship and the expertise of leaders of the organization as members of our faculty. It's another key aspect that we are proud of, and we're so privileged to have executive level faculty that have led coursework, nuanced frameworks, courageous conversations, one-to-one editing workshops, and truly with such a range of expertise. I do want to mention right there in the SPJ Georgia Chapter 1 for our newest alumni, one of your new board members, Laura Janelle Downey. I know she's in travel, but we were in communication yesterday. And she and our class of 2022 fellows are another dynamic cohort. They represent the next generation of media professionals who are already transforming the field. They're shattering ceilings in newsrooms and boardrooms by the force of their work and who they are. So want to delve in specifically on Maynard 200 and our mission. Our mission is to bolster the professional acumen, to advance the leadership power, to seed and embolden 200 and more journalists. By 2024, we will exceed that mandate, and with a focus on those from BIPOC and historically underrepresented backgrounds. So last October, we graduated the 2022 class that I mentioned. Laura was part of them, our largest to date since we launched in 2018. They are now part of the more than 140 media professionals that we have graduated in Maynard 200, and that's across 4 curriculum tracks. I mentioned investigative storytelling. We also have executive leaders, frontline editors and managers, media entrepreneurs and product developers, and investigative storytellers. So our latest alumni cohort is again comprised of these 53 media professionals representing a wide spectrum of racial, gender, and geographic backgrounds. And just a bit of a sampling of media outlets that were represented last year in our cohort. That includes CNN, ABC News, Fox News Media, the New York Times, Capital B News, Bloomberg, Mother Jones, the Washington Informer, Chicago Public Media, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, Austin Vida, KISA Public Radio, Chicago Public Radio, and many other public radio affiliates, Curiosity Lab, and many, many others. They, wow. The alumni cohorts before, and many have come from SPJ's families and networks. Yeah. They and the alumni cohorts before them, they embody our missions of emboldening, again, this next generation of journalists. And what I would consider is what sets that apart, emboldening them to stand together as a community of allies to dismantle structural racism and shift the culture in newsrooms and organizations in order to become institutions grounded in equity and belonging. 2 last things that I'm going to mention, aside from, last cohort in 2022, we had more than 80 sessions led by over 100 faculty members in our 2 training weeks. We have one in the summer, end of June, and the other in end of October, so late fall. And in between, we have supplementary webinars. And in that last training week, we have our commencement exercises. And that is also culminated with our one-to-one match, our one-to-one mentorship phase. And this is a year-long mentorship partnership with not only veteran media executives, but also industry experts across relevant disciplines, the academe, business, entrepreneurship, advocacy, who mentor our fellows, who of course at that point are already alumni, one-to-one, giving guidance, insight, support, allyship, at least once a month for 12 months. And for many, it has become a forever relationship. So yes. I'm going to end there. What I would say is when we talk about that community of allyship, that's what we call the Maynard way. As important it is for us that we provide a robust, comprehensive, nuanced, and executive level curriculum across these 4 tracks. it is also equally important, even more important, that our training components and the whole Maynard 200 experience as a fellowship is one guided by empathy, equity, and belonging. And that's what we call the Maynard way. And so we're just excited. We hope many in the SPJ network might give us a chance and check us out.
Thank you, Odette. Liz, will you tell us about your fellowship and some of the benefits?
Sure. The Journalists in Aging program operates differently than the Maynard one, although now I want to apply to Maynard. So, but really it's focusing on the fact that just in a few short years, by 2030, about 1/5 of the country's population will be 65 and older. And the fastest growth is coming from minority and ethnic communities. Up until really recently, there hasn't been a whole lot of media coverage about aging or ageism or any of the issues that go along with it. So our program's goals are really to educate journalists about aging issues, whether that's mainstream media or the LGBTQ community, people with disabilities, and disseminate accurate information about science, policy, innovations, and evidence-based solutions, which in this day and age is becoming more and more important. We also strive to build bridges, both with linking reporters to experts in the field, linking reporters new to the age beat with experienced age beat reporters, and then linking reporters to their communities to talk about these issues in their own languages. So far, this current year is our 13th year of the program, and we've had to date about 200 journalists from both ethnic and mainstream media. And I do want to stress that we take about 10 to 15 fellows, new fellows every year. At least half are from ethnic media outlets because we feel it's that important to get those aging issues out there and correct a lot of the misconceptions that are out there. So we've had, mainstream, the Seattle Times, the Washington Post, CNBC, and then smaller outlets like Next Avenue online, the Desert Sun. And importantly, ethnic media have ranged from Palabra to The Crisis, where Jatika was able to place a wonderful story, Telemundo, Tri-Sydney News, and then also age-specific publications like Atlanta Senior Life, which has, its own audience and own issues to deal with. But I think what's really important is the collaboration. We have a full day workshop prior to the start of the Gerontological Society meeting, which is this year and will be November 8th to 12th. So everybody comes in for a one-day workshop, which kind of lays the groundwork. Part of the application process involves a proposal for a long-form story that you'll write and report on over the year. And we match you up with experts in specific fields of gerontology. And that might be researchers, that might be academics, might be people that work for nonprofits. So you get a lot of different perspectives. And then we'll sit around at the end and we'll brainstorm your proposal and talk about specific story angles and ideas. And we'll work with you over the course of the year. Individually, I'm very fortunate to partner with Paul Clayman, who Odette knows from New America Media. Paul basically knows everybody there is to know ever in the world of aging. And he's a wonderful source. He's the founder of this program. And Todd Kluss, who's the communications director for the GSA. And if Todd can't find you a source, nobody can, because their database has literally thousands and thousands of experts in it. So we encourage people to apply. Our application opens in usually around the end of August. And we also have people come back as returning fellows. Hopefully Jatika will be one of them either this year or next. And we bring you together for the one-day workshop, 3 days at the Gerontological Society meeting. And then, you go home, and after your brain explodes, you come back and we'll work with you on refining and focusing your stories, and hopefully educating whoever your audience is on whatever aspect it is of aging. And I just also want to say one of the things I like, even though I'm a health journalist, aging is a topic that I love reporting on, because it's not just healthcare. It's not just, the frail elderly, but it's about housing. It's about transportation. It's about urban planning. It's about retirement. It touches on so many issues that are important to so many people. And often we don't think about them until we're faced with a crisis. We have a parent in a nursing home, or all of a sudden, your 401k is shot because of the economy. So I would encourage people to think about it. I'll post the link to this year's fellowship information, and we'll let everybody know when applications are open for the coming year.
And if you don't mind, Nicole, I would like to piggyback to kind of bring it home what Liz shared about the fellowship, because it was very, very helpful when you, as a fellow, when you're building your story, those sessions that we had, those few days a week, I was in the 2020 class, so we were like in the heat of the pandemic. So all of our hours was virtual, but it really helped with those sessions where we got to speak to experts, because I was able to use a couple of those people in the sessions in my story. So I was able to contact them. So if you aren't totally confident whether you can find an expert, just like Liz said, they will help you find someone. And I didn't have any real health or aging background experience or expertise before I applied, but now I feel more confident with that.
Thanks, Jatika and Liz. I wanted to kind of ask you as well, for the students, what is the benefit of fellowships, coming out of college and looking to get into freelancing? Why is this maybe an option for them that they didn't know of before and now might consider, versus like getting a full-time job?
100 transparency as a student, money. First of all, that I'm just going to be 100%. I remember graduating, looking for a job. Even if you come out with a job, it's always helpful to have a little nest egg that you can kind of fall back on, or help you, move to where you want to go. So yes, the financial part is great, but I will say, career-wise, it's the education you receive. It's the education you receive when it comes to the resources, the information that you might not really find just from Googling it, because like I said, those sessions where we got to speak to experts, they were speaking from their years of working in this field. So not everything, is on Google. And even if you do find it on Google, it might not go into depth like this person can go. So just the information, and also as a student or a new graduate, it may help you find your passion. That's where, so you never know. I say, and I'm very good at this, I apply for many fellowships, mainly because I want the education of it. I want to see, am I passionate about this? When I applied for the Gerontological Society of America Journalists and Aging Fellowship, I wasn't really fully passionate about, but it became a passion because I had a 90-year-old grandmother who was in a nursing home. So it became very personal and important to me, which when you delve deeper into it, my compassion grew. So it became more than just my grandmother. It was all aging people, because I felt that there were certain scenarios and situations that were painful, and I don't think anyone should go through. And I think as a journalist, putting all that information out there for people to know and to not feel alone, and to also feel like I made a list of resources, websites, phone numbers that people can call. So I like the fact that I was able to get the information and somewhat regurgitate it out to an audience. Like when like Liz said, I was able to get it published on the Crisis website. their audience is mainly 65 and up. So at that age, if you're not ready to receive that level of your life personally, you have a parent who is already there. So they were able to, you know, take it and build on it. And in here, and in hard copy, I was able to get at the Atlanta Voice, which is an older newspaper. So their audience is older as well. They're a historical new publication here in Atlanta. So I was able, yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Jatika. Finish.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I love the fact that I was able to share this information and to reach such a broad audience and actually in turn help them. So that's what I loved about the fellowship. And
to share it to two distinct audiences. I just wanted to interject, Nicole, if that was all right. Just 2 quick points to what Jatika just shared, this thread. And in fact, just to mention, NAACP's Crisis Magazine, the former editor, Lottie Joyner, was actually alumni as well. And of course, she has transitioned. And as well as one of the lead executives of the Atlanta Voice was one of our alumni. We've just been so blessed by the caliber and the passion of so many of these cohorts. And, you know, we were having a conversation with Liz just before we hopped onto formally to the event, but so much of what you've already produced through your fellowship with the Gerontological Aging Fellowship with Liz's group is something that we would be excited for you to develop even further, and what we can offer in Maynard 200 in the investigative storytellers track, focused on skills and frameworks that hone investigative reporting skills. We hope this is something that may be among students in the SPJ Georgia chapter, across SPJ's networks, and even, of course, the working journalists. This is something they wish to sharpen. So a couple of core themes and core topics and frameworks and skills that we develop further there and provide expertise on is exploring the anatomy of an investigative project, how to hold an accountability interview, of course, finding the right information, FOIA, requests for information, navigating that whole morass of a system, right? As Liz would know, analyzing data, finding stories in data visualization, finding stories even in Excel, filing effective requests, and as well as other investigative techniques and tactics. I mean, we have been so just blown away and again, privileged to have experts from ProPublica, from the Associated Press, Ron Nixon, the Global Investigations editor of the AP, just a range of expertise. And the last thing I'm going to say, because we were talking about freelancing and students, when we've launched in 2018 and up to our cohort in 2022, we have a robust number of freelancers who see value in Maynard 200, not only for sharpening those skills, in fact, for freelancing, a very important coursework and skill is to negotiation strategies, negotiating in terms of how do you pitch your story to that editor, to that media outlet. Ron Nixon of the AP is an expert on this. And I think it's something where not only do you hone these content creation, storytelling, finding your inner storyteller, claiming your own narrative, the art of telling your own story, and laying out that perspective into the storytelling that you provide and the work that you do as a storyteller and a journalist, but also the networking, the connections, the relationships that are built. We have been able to connect freelancers to get their stories, their images. Some of them are photojournalists, into The Guardian, into many outlets across the United States and beyond. And it's been such a pride to see their work succeed and their work reach broader platforms. So we're always excited about that.
And also, with that being said, this all may sound like a lot as a student, but please, I encourage you to not be intimidated. Please don't be intimidated. Go for it. Try. That's all you can do. Even if you have to get with one of your professors who can look at your application, make sure you're hitting all the points. Don't be afraid to try. Look for a fellow. You can start off, like I said, I found a passion in writing about aging, but there are so many fellowships. If you already feel like you have a passion, I'm pretty sure there is a fellowship for that. There are fashion fellowships. There are there are, like I said, aging, there's science, there's everything. So I would say, don't be intimidated. Look for what your passion is. Try to find a fellowship within that, and just go for it.
And if
And
you
apply
guys
for more
need
than one.
help, SPJ Georgia can help connect you. So if
Absolutely.
fellowships is something that you're interested in, reach out to us. We will help find you a place if you're not sure where to even begin
Absolutely.
looking.
Absolutely. We know
that
people
goes
like
really
Liz
well.
and Odette. We know these people, so we can help you.
Yeah, that goes super well, Jatika, into what I was gonna ask next is about like what kind of words of advice you guys all have for students or anybody applying to fellowships, specifically your fellowships or just fellowships in general. So I think that kicks it off pretty good, unless you have anything else to add. Liz, if you want to go.
Sure. I think, one of the things that is so valuable about fellowships, not only the one on aging, but the opportunity to network and network with other journalists, especially when you're a freelancer. And I've been freelancing for over 25 years. So the idea of coming together with fellow journalists to talk shop, to make that human contact, which has been, even when they're in the before times, you don't work in a traditional newsroom, so you don't have that kind of, standing around the cubicle or standing around the water cooler experience. So this is an opportunity to get together with other journalists from all across the country who work in a variety of different media, a variety of different focuses. And we don't have, for example, all health journalists in our fellowship. We do have business reporters. We have general assignment reporters. We have cultural reporters.
I was entertainment mainly. I was
entertainment. So you never
With
know
the
who
shift to
you're gonna
aging.
meet
Yeah.
and where that's going to take you.
Right.
And as far as the, applying to the current cohort, some fellowships will take you right out of college. Some fellowships will say, well, you need a year or two experience in the working world, and that's okay. Because there are as Jatika said, there are so many different fellowships out there, and they're geared for all level of career. Some of them are early career, some of them are mid-career. So you have opportunities throughout your career to do this. I wish I had known about some of these fellowships when I first started freelancing, because I think it would have really helped me narrow my passion a lot sooner and maybe develop my career a little bit faster. I think the one thing you have to remember too is that even if you don't get accepted to a particular fellowship, it's okay. You keep applying. It's kind of like pitching an editor. If they reject your first story, go back with a different one. Go back the following year. Try another fellowship. A lot of times, selection committees, you may be this close, but somebody maybe had just a slightly better story angle or was from a part of the country that hadn't been considered yet. Maybe they got too many applications from New York or California, so they're looking for some diversity in geography. And having been on selection committees, I can tell you that's sometimes the case, that you have a wonderful proposal, but there's something within that criteria. So don't let that discourage you, but keep going back and keep applying. And the process gets easier. But you can also ask people on the selection committee or a fellowship director what you need to do to reapply and maybe make it the next time.
And I want to throw in there also two things. One thing that I'm doing now is I apply for fellowships. The list of fellows, for most of the time, I don't know all of them, but the list of fellows are on the website. Look at their story ideas. Look to see what they got, so maybe you can build something just as interesting, it's just because, I guess I have the privilege of, I used to be a grant writer. So it's almost like the same thing. You have to look at what is of interest of that fellowship. And then you really hone in on that. And also the second thing was being a part of the fellowship. It can either, if your idea is too broad, it can help you narrow it down. to make it perfect. And if your idea is too narrow, it can help you broaden it out to make it more, make it more meaty. So those are the two things I want to add to that.
And I really love, what you both said, and especially Liz, when, said it's a matter of, in many ways, timing, and in many ways, that grit to pursue. If it is a fellowship you're impassioned about and you feel like this is a course curriculum and the kind of frameworks that is really going to bolster your work and your trajectory, because I think that's really the way that I have always looked at my pipeline. It's a continuous pipeline. You have a cutoff, and it's almost like, gosh, how I wish to accept all of them, all finalists. But you select a cutoff. But I always revisit my finalists and even my applicants. I have actually followed an arc of one of our applicants from when we first opened our application portal in 2018 and got him into the program in 2022, because we felt we want the fellowship to be of optimal value and relevance and resonance and benefit to the participant, to the fellow, as much as it is a benefit to us. More than ever, it is about the program being the right fit and being the right value at the right time in their journey, in their journalism arc. And so this is just a quick example. Manuel McDonald Smith, former managing editor of CBS 3 News in Philadelphia, that's his role at the time that we got him in 2022. Actually, in just the weeks following the first training, he was already on an ascendancy in a transition track, and now he's senior homepage editorial manager for Yahoo. And that promotion, that transition actually happened just before he graduated the program. And to again kind of go back to that Maynard way, into that community of support. I love what you said, Jatika, about don't be intimidated. And that's what we want to build right off the bat, that we're there to support the journey every step of the way from the very beginning. That's what our team and that's what our faculty and our mentors are there for. He has spoken about, and I was just going to mention a little quick about the 3 tracks and what we offer. What he was able to get in the executive leaders track was organizational, strategic direction. But more than anything, what struck me was what he told me when we had a mentorship call last December. And he said, Odette, what Maynard 200 has built, what you have built, matters in ways big and small. For many of us, we may not, he was explaining this, for many of us, we may not be experiencing the full extent of what it means to be in this community of belonging and allyship within our cohorts and across our cohorts, the Maynard network, the Maynard family and beyond. But we will know it, we will need it at the time when we need it the most, when we need to know that we are not alone in this work. And so many of our people who are lone people of color, lone journalists of color in the room, lone journalists of color in those newsrooms and their boardrooms, when they feel like they have that support behind them from the field, that they have that voice, that they can be that force of change, we know that we've done our job. A very quick thing to mention, the 3 tracks, I talked about the investigative storytellers. In the executive leaders track, that's designed for high-level managers that are ascending to the next path in the C-suite. So in this track, we talk about providing them assessments on their leadership and management style, strategies for boosting their leadership skills, financial oversight, governance issues, and all that. The frontline editors and managers track. This was a great hunger in the field. The minute we opened this track last year, boom, just the applicants, because this is a sector of journalists that they feel like they've been thrown to the wolves. They're thrown out into a den with no support. Primarily, they're left to fend for themselves, and especially in a time of lockdown and newsroom isolation, they had to navigate how do you lead a newsroom when you have people in such remote locations and are also coming from different spaces. in the course of the pandemic. So in that, there's on the ground, one-to-one assignment editors and executive producers and broadcast learning about hands-on editing, learning about strategic leadership, learning about leadership when, for example, you're dealing with generational differences. Sometimes you may be the younger frontline editor or manager governing or supervising more veteran journalists. And how do you handle that dynamic, those tensions that may arise? And the last jump, media entrepreneurs and product developers. Very, very excited about this track. A lot of new products, new portals of media and journalism come out, and a lot of them fail, and a lot of them waver. Maybe they don't know how to put together a real business plan. Maybe they don't know how to look at sustainability approaches. Maybe they don't know the right audience, analyzing your own audience, market research. So all of that is provided in that track. They could also be product developers in established media companies, but they're creating a new product for a new audience, and they're also part of this track. This culminates with a final project. They develop a final biz presentation, a slide deck that they can confidently present to venture capitalists, to funders, to grant makers. And we have like a public speaking coach who coaches Fortune 500 company leaders, who really give them that confidence to know how to pitch their business, to know it inside and out, and how to effectively bring that message across. And I just wanted to mention, these are in total the 4 tracks that we offer. And it's an all learning track, all learn, all teach track. That's why I was telling Liz, we would be so honored to have your expertise, because not only are the fellows there to absorb the learning, we learn from them. They have their own expertise that they bring to the table. So we learn so much in those conversations and those discussions.
Thanks, you guys. We're kind of coming close to the end. I want to give y'all the opportunity to ask questions. If you have questions about fellowships or about freelancing in general, Jatika can answer some of those as well. If you have
Absolutely.
a question, go ahead and come up here and you can ask them directly. That's kind of the benefit of having this be a little small.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
My name is Christina. We're at Georgia Southern right now. I don't know if you know where we are. Sorry. But I'm in their newsroom. I'm loving it. And I just kind of wanted to ask you guys what, as you've been running, your programs and your fellowships, what transformations have you seen with your fellows, or if you're in your own experience, how you kind of grew from the beginning when you put in your application to the end where you're submitting that last thing, and just kind of maybe the ups and downs that you've seen or anything like that, that you could share with us today.
Yeah, Liz, you go ahead. I'll add my point.
Okay. One of the things I've seen with several of our fellows has been an emerging career opportunity. So for example, we had a freelancer who works for a publication in Washington, DC called The Georgetowner. And she did her 2 or 3 stories on aging, and it was actually on housing in the Georgetown area. The publisher liked it so much, they gave her a regular column.
Oh, wow.
Same thing happened to another fellow who worked for the Desert Sun in California. And she was able to parlay her fellowship into a regular column. So for a freelancer, especially when you hear the words regular, that is so, it's amazing. So when and it doesn't matter whether it's the aging or health or, business, but whatever your passion is, you can often use that fellowship as the springboard to turn it into some kind of ongoing column, ongoing opinion piece, whatever it happens to be. So we've seen fellows come in knowing nothing. Jatika was one of them, really knowing almost nothing about the aging field, and then parlaying that into some excellent journalism that's now, as a springboard for future career.
Right. Like I said, when I applied for the fellowship, I would say I've been a journalist for 23 years now. And I can say more than half of that, I was writing entertainment style. I've worked for radio stations. I've interviewed celebrities. I've been to California on Oscar week, all of that good stuff. And it was foreign to me to write about aging. But when I did it, it did open my mind and my eyes to something that I was passionate about. So even though I didn't get this huge career shift, I did get a new passion. And that means a lot when, because I don't care what anyone says, we're journalists, we're artists. We love the art of writing. So to me, to be able to find a passion, that means everything, because then you'll hone in on that thing and you'll go for what you want to do and you want to share those stories. And also when you get that passion, ideas come out of everywhere. You start to see, every time you see something on television, it becomes like, oh, I wonder if I could turn that into. So, and that's as a journalist, our fuel is passion. So that's how it changed me.
Thank you so much for this question. And please refresh me, your name again.
Christina.
Christina, and just excited to know more about the work that you're doing. Across the board, the growth that we've seen is something that always energizes us and always drives us. It's such a great joy of whether editorially, they're getting their stories placed in more and more platforms, or they're transitioning to completely new media outlets, moving from the Arizona Republic and then being in the Chicago Tribune. That's happened to some of our investigative storytellers. And also across the board, what we've seen, something that maybe this might resonate with you down the line, and for many of the journalists joining us, our executive leaders track has been able to, alongside the mentorship that we provide, contribute to career ascendancy to the C-suite, sometimes even twice or thrice over. One very vivid example that always blows me away. In 2019, we had 6 executive leaders. We were a little bit more intimate then, Liz. I think we were about 26 fellows in total. All 6 of them had risen after the program, perhaps 1 month after, just 1 month after, into vice president, managing editor, director roles, C-suite roles in their organizations, one in the Associated Press, one in Mundo Hispano, one in from National Federation of Public Broadcasters, into now being executive director or a director role in KQED. So and some of them, one of our graduates has also become a mentor. See, they give back. Not only did they go through this fellowship, then they become mentors themselves and give back. She has ascended in the Associated Press 3 times over in various vice president roles. And the one thing also I wanted to mention in the media entrepreneurs and product developers track, many of them, I think as of last count, I would say we're close to $1 million mark of grants and funding and awards that our fellows from that track have been able to gain by really honing their entrepreneurial venture and being able to pitch it effectively and sharpen it. And I think because your interest specifically is in storytelling, there's been such a great growth in the way that they gain the skills, that confidence. Like I said, again, as a freelancer, that confidence to negotiate that pitching landscape,
Right.
which can be a minefield, really communicating to an editor or to a media outlet. Sometimes the editor and the publisher are the same. Why your story matters and why your perspective matters in writing that story. And that is so important. A last point of clarity in terms of the Maynard 200 Fellowship per se, and this is something I'm so excited to grow because we will pivot after 2024. I'm keynoting a conference of the Associated College Journalism. It's the largest association of college journalists in the United States. That's in March. And what I'm excited about is pivoting the program where we can look at the sector of college journalists and those who've just graduated. Because right now, the Maynard 200 Fellowship does need a baseline of journalism experience. But when we see these applications from younger journalists, emerging journalists, we keep that pipeline, we keep that information because we know you'll grow. And in fact, we'll be proactive in revisiting you and kind of checking in. You know, you've probably already gained that journalism experience that we're seeking by now. So keep on plugging away. And that's the kind of growth that we see. We're always energized by.
Thank you guys for taking the time to answer my question. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Christina,
Good luck, Christina.
good luck with everything.
Does anybody else have questions? Do you guys want to wrap up by talking about your application process? I know you have dates to share with us, Odette.
Yeah, and thank you for letting me just show a quick visual. This is just one slide. I hope it's showing up for everybody. Showing that's our 2022 cohort. Look at all those smiling faces, and some of them were virtual. This is the context by which we are right now. Our 53 graduates from the class of 2022, together with our team, our two co-executive directors, Martin Reynolds, Evelyn Sue. Evelyn Sue is my direct partner. I think, Liz, you might know her from JAWS. She's the architect of Maynard 200. And we have our board chair, John X. Miller from ESPN, the undefeated. He's now at Dallas Morning News. Our mentors, our faculty, some of our faculty are there. And this is the page. This is like a beta page because our application portal, very excited about this, opens next week, February 1st, Wednesday. What I would like everyone to do, I'm just excited to encourage everyone, please email me. There's my email right there, okeeley@mije.org. And I will then connect, make sure that you get subscribed to our newsletter, and then you'll be able to get all of these incredible news, not only of Maynard 200, we also have the Oakland Voices program, but also all the fellowships of our allies and partners. And Liz, we're going to promote your fellowship on our MIJ newsletter and our portals. The deadline is March 31st. Any questions, let me know. And we're there every step of the way. There's a Google form application. One last piece of advice that I would say, pay close attention to the essays. And this is just one essay per applicant, but there are prompts, there are question prompts that really we want to parse out what is the kind of value and what life experience do you bring and what are you seeking and what kind of range of experience. So there are these customized question prompts per track so that your essay really reaches us rich and comprehensive and really represents you and the kind of writer or leader or journalist that you are, and are you poised to be a participant and have the optimal benefit and value of being a Maynard 200 fellow. So I'm gonna stop screen sharing, but February 1st.
Odette, leave it up for a second.
Okay.
So we have Jatika that you guys heard from, who had a fellowship with Liz, but also SPJ Georgia has Laura, she's in the picture on our board. And so if you guys are interested in the Maynard Fellowship and want to talk to somebody who's been through it, Laura can talk to you more about that, and she'd be happy to, so I can connect you guys with her.
Thank you for that. Absolutely.
Thank you, Odette.
And do you want me to stop share now?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so I've posted the link to the excuse me, to this year's fellowship information at the Gerontological Society. It's under their press room tab at geron.org. And you can also email me with specific questions, or if you're interested, and we'll get you on a list. Our application don't open usually until mid to late August. And our fellows come out this year it's November 8th to 12th. So you would come out the day before to do the all-day workshop and then spend 3 days at the conference. It's a fairly in-depth process, as Jatika knows. We ask for some clips and some resume information and of course the standard stuff. But what we're looking for is a story proposal of, we say long form, depending on the medium, could be a 5-minute video piece or a 10-minute radio story or a 3,000 word print story. It all depends on what you and your specific editor want. And freelancers are welcome to apply. We ask that you connect with an editor that you've perhaps written for in the past and pitch the story to them as a provisional, and then develop a proposal based on that. And once you're selected, we will work with you then to refine that proposal and help you develop sources and perhaps think of different story angles, or provide you with some study information or some other background information that you can help make that story even meatier. As I said, we usually take about 10 to 15 new fellows, and then we have a cohort of returning fellows, usually about 6 or 7, who come back a year or 2 later and again, follow up on perhaps some aspect of aging that they may want to pursue. But I think the real benefit of this is look at past fellows. There's a list on the website. Look at the past stories, see what's been trending, see how maybe you can add to that conversation, especially if you are interested in ethnic media, and what value that will add to your specific community in terms of moving the conversation forward about some particular aspect of aging. And my email is also in there if you want to contact me after the fact with more questions.
Thank you guys. I'm gonna take the stuff from the chat because it's just the 4 of us in the Zoom, and the chat will download since I'm recording everything, and I'll share it with everybody who's attended.
Awesome. And I want to add to what Liz was saying. One thing you also have to think about before you apply is that a lot of these fellowships want you to have a publication that promises to run the story once it's written. Start on that early, because sometimes it takes editors a long time to get back to you. And I don't want you to think that you can send an email 2 weeks before your deadline and think that they're gonna say, okay, yeah, we're running. That may happen in some cases. Sometimes you have to start a few months in advance. So reach out to those editors or whomever to run your story beforehand. And because I did both short length and long length story. I did both. So so I had 2 separate stories that I wrote.
I wanted to
Seriously, reach out to your editors because we want to know ahead of time.
Yeah, and share my email also.
I will.
Yeah, feel free to contact me.
Wanted to add just a very quick last set of information. The Maynard 200 program is tuition free, and we provide a cap. We do provide subsidies on travel and lodging, and that's through the great support of our funders, seed funders from the very beginning: Craig Newmark Philanthropies, the Google News Initiative, Heartland Foundation, and many more. But I do want to say, we're excited this year. We're taking Maynard 200 on the road. We've been at USC Annenberg, Los Angeles in these last years. When we started, we were in Google Boulder because of Google's seed funding. We will be in Texas in June and October of this year, of 2023. Very excited. Texas Christian University, the Bob Schieffer College of Communication. And our announcement of the cohort is sometime around, I would say around late May or latest first week of June. And the first training round is the end of June. So very excited to connect with all of you. Again, Jatika and Nicole know how to reach me. I've given my email address on the chat, and talk to Laura as well. Laura Janelle Downey, one of the board members of SPJ Georgia, was one of our alumni from 2022. And email me. I'm here, I'm accessible. This is why I'm so excited to be here today, to be accessible to all of you. And I'm really excited to hopefully get your applications, as well as Liz and Jatika.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your day today.
Enjoy the mixer. Thank you,
Bye.
SPJ Georgia. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you,
all.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.